Hello everyone, this is Sanjay Parashar. Welcome back to our channel. And today we are covering 11th session of Service Oriented Architecture 12C series. And today we will be talking about WSDL, which stands for Web Service Description Language. It's a very important topic to cover for certification purpose, for interview purpose, as well as for the development purpose of Oracle SOA. However, today we are covering this session based on the request of one of our valuable subscriber. So Maria sent us an email requesting for a lecture on WSDL document. So first of all, Maria, thank you so much for subscribing to our channel and showing your love and support and encouragement. We really appreciate that. And I hope today's session will be helpful for you. Today, it will mostly be a theoretical part of WSDL. However, you will get to know some in-depth insight of WSDL. So, WSDL are of two types. One is abstract and concrete. So, abstract WSDL is a WSDL which do not have the endpoint URI, or in other words, we can say which do not have the location of that particular WSDL. That WSDL can be termed as abstract WSDL. And the second is concrete WSDL. That means if a WSDL has its own endpoints inside it, then that WSDL can be called as concrete WSDL. So that's based on the formation of that WSDL, how we create a WSDL. We can create abstract and concrete. And at the same time, a WSDL can be of synchronous and asynchronous type. So synchronous WSDL, as the name suggests, that if there is an operation which has been exposed as a synchronous, that means whenever a user will send any request to that particular WSDL, user is expecting a response out of it instantly. Till the time it does not get the response back out of from that WSDL, it will not proceed further. So that sort of scenario is synchronous. And asynchronous WSDL is based on the protocol fire and forget. So user will call this WSDL, provide its inputs. However, it will not wait for the output and will proceed further with the further business logic. However, if they want to receive the output of an asynchronous WSDL or asynchronous service, at that time the user will need to call a different port for that WSDL. So in other word, in simpler word, we can say for synchronous WSDL, the request and response ports are same. However, for asynchronous WSDL, request port is different and response port is different. So now I have created a couple of WSDLs with all these four examples so that you guys will get an idea that how exactly it looks from the coding perspective. So let's dive into it. So here we go. In this JDeveloper, we can see that I have opened four WSDLs. We'll go through them one by one. So first we have an abstract synchronous WSDL. So this is a very common question. Sometimes they ask in the easier part of certifications as well, what is the root element of a WSDL? So its definition, as we can see here. So under definition, we have a type, that means the schema where this WSDL will adhere to, the operation of that WSDL will adhere to this schema. Then we have message that defines the element of the WSDL. So this request should be under the WSDL demo.xst. Similarly for response. And then we have a port type, and under port we will have the operations. So here, as it's a synchronous WSDL, it under the same port only we have request and response. And because it's abstract, that's why it only has port, message and type. Now let's compare this with the concrete WSDL, synchronous only. So if it is synchronous, that means input and output will have the same port. But as it's concrete, it should be having the binding and service tag as well. So now let's check. So it's the same WSDL, it's just now this is a concrete WSDL, not the abstract WSDL. So till here, it's absolutely same. However, beneath it, we can see that a couple of tags has been introduced, a couple of elements. So we have binding here. Under that binding, we have one service. So under this service, this location where at the moment I have written example.com, here the entire endpoint URI of that WSDL will be written in a real case scenario. So now we understand the difference between concrete and abstract. However, to check how the asynchronous service looks, so now let's check this abstract asynchronous service. So just to repeat, because it's abstract, it will not be having binding and service tag. It will, however, it's asynchronous, that means it should be having multiple ports for request and response. So now let's check this out. So now as we can see, there is no binding in service, but there are two port types. One is for request and one is for response. So whenever a user will call this particular WSDL, and it for input, it will call this request tag under the port type call, and to get the response, the user will need to call this callback port to get the response from it. And now let's check the concrete asynchronous WSDL. So it will be same, this part will be same, however a binding and service tag will be introduced because it's concrete. So now as you can see, till here it is absolutely same. We have two ports for request and response. However, here we have binding for port 1 and now we have binding for the callback port. So here this binding is for call, that goes for request, and this is for callback, that goes for process response. And again the service, under the service we can have the location of the entire WSDL. So let's conclude the theoretical part of this WSDL. However, there are certain best practices that one must follow being a SOA developer, that how to use abstract WSDLs and how to use concrete WSDL, that we will cover in a different session altogether, and how to use abstract WSDL to achieve the loosely coupled feature of Oracle SOA that everyone talks about. So for today's session, this is it. We should be, after this session, we should be able to differentiate between abstract and concrete and synchronous and asynchronous WSDLs. And if you guys need these WSDLs, please let me know. Send me an email. The email address is mentioned in the description box. So you let me know if you want me to go deep into it, how to create those WSDLs and all. So you just drop me an email and we will see that what better can be done from the WSDL part of it. Thank you so much for tuning to our channel. I really appreciate your love and support. Take good care of yourselves. Bye bye.